Welcome back to the sales show. Today we're going to steal the real thing from Coca-Cola. The two marketing secrets that will steal for you from Coca-Cola are two secrets that you can immediately implement this week into your business. And you learn them in less time than it actually takes you to find a cola bottle with your name. Join Michael, the referability master, Roderick, and Simon, the sales booster, Severino, as we steal for you. Hey, Michael,
Yeah.
let's steal. Let's steal. What did you find?
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because you sort of referenced it, right? At the very beginning, Coke right now is running their famous Share a Coke campaign. It's one of the more popular campaigns. I think this has been done probably at least 2 or 3 times so far. And basically the main premise of the campaign is if you go to a store right now at this very moment, you will see that on the Coke bottles there is a statement that says "Share a Coke with," and then it literally has an individual's name. So I could go to a store right now and basically find a "Share a Coke with Michael," and basically buy that bottle. Now, when you think about it, right? If I go and I'm in the store and I say share a Coke with Simon, and then I come to you and I hand you this Coke and it's got your name on it, you're going to have that feeling, right? Where you're going to look at it and you're going to think, wow, this is really for me, right? Like this feels very very personal, and this has been a major campaign for Coke. We've seen it over and over and over again. People are constantly playing around with this, sharing Cokes with each other. So it's a very, very effective hyper personalization tool that we don't often see in a lot of the world of marketing. And if you think about it, Coke is really the first company that has made it an option or a possibility to put somebody else's name on their product. So it's a really, really innovative idea worth
It's
stealing.
it's literally the first thing on their website right now. If you go to coca-colacompany.com, it's literally the first thing. And you see three people. If you're just listening, it's the first image that you see on the Coca-Cola website is three people. They're having a good time, and their three names are on that bottle. Mia, Logan, Isaac, and they're having a good time. Iconic Share a Coke is back for a new generation. That's what's right now on that page. What else did we
Exactly.
steal? Um, being seen in more places, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened from this campaign alone was a dramatic increase in sales, but also in market share. So in a dominant position in their industry. So the market share growth during that campaign, in most regions where it was implemented, they saw measurable market share gains. That's the dream of every executive team. And the social media amplification, if you just look at the marketing team, right? The campaign generated over 500,000 photos shared on social media. That's what you want to have as a marketing department.
Right.
With the hashtag share a Coke. In just the first year, creating free advertising and brand engagement. It's not just brand visibility. There's your name on that product.
Mm-hmm.
We have talked about how people can implement this. Maybe I fast forward. How can you implement this? You can have a course with a workbook and you say, hey, here is the workbook to, improve your IT workflow. Or you can say, Laura's workbook, Steven's
Mm-hmm.
workbook, Michael's workbook, Simon's workbook. It hits differently when I get a workbook from you. I'm doing your course, I'm going through your videos, and I have a workbook on my desk. It says my name, workbook. It's a different dynamic, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think that, you see that out there, but you don't see it nearly as much in the marketing world, right? A lot of people get swag put together for their companies, and then they'll basically like put their company logo on it, or slap something on it to basically be like, this is my company. But it wouldn't cost you that much extra to basically just add the person's name who you're sending it to. If you're already putting your logo on it, it's not exactly going to cost you a ton more to personalize it for the person that you're sending it to, but they're going to remember that and see that, because we've all got piles of swag, but how much of that swag has our names on it?
And I'm curious, let's go to emails because everybody listening sends emails.
Yeah, yeah.
And I used to learn that, the favorite name of every reader is their own name. So let's mention that name in an email like 5 times, 6 times. That would be an ideal email. What is your experience? Is it still a fresh and welcome thing to do?
I I think we've gotten to a point where it's been done so much, that it doesn't have the same level. It doesn't have the same level of effect. I think people are starting to sort of notice, that um, there's a broadcast sort of component to it. But I think there's another layer of that, which is if you've got an automation sequence or you've got some sort of follow up that you're doing, that aspect of personalization, of saying the person's
Mm.
name and having it feel like that email is coming directly to you, I actually think that's significantly more effective in
Mm-hmm.
terms of a use of name
Mm-hmm.
than the big broadcast, because we know, right? Like we've read so many emails where it opens with, hey, so and so. And how many times has the tech been a problem in that scenario where we get something that says, hey, insert first name here, or hey, first name, right? Which causes this like this disconnect. But if we're getting something and it sounds like it's coming from you, or it feels like it's coming from you, and it's using my name, I am going to at the very least consider it, much more than I'm going to consider sort of the larger scale broadcast.
Absolutely. And we have deleted it from our emails. They're not allowed to start with "Hey" first name
Hmm.
because it's too inflationary.
Yeah.
We try to write like you would write to a friend. Um,
Hmm.
Michael, last
Yeah.
week this thing happened. And then
Okay.
I start telling a story like I would tell to a friend, and I try to be subtle with the use of Michael again. I will use Michael 2 or 3 times again, but it's subtle.
Hmm.
It's not where you expect it to be.
Yeah.
It's where a friend in all its short, concise, chaotic, unprecise language would put it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, I think that the placement can be, can be a factor, right? If it comes as a surprise, right? We're reading the story and all of a sudden our name is referenced, then again, I think that's a nuance there that can make the experience feel more personal and stand out a little bit more, right? And sort of give us that like kind of surprise of we're being referenced, in that particular way.
It's kind of hard to be very, very personal in emails. Maybe we should
Hmm.
do a whole episode on that. Let's steal some emails from
Yeah.
people the next time. But now we are at how can we be seen in more places? So that was the
Hmm.
social media. And there is one more thing, right? Same
Yes.
people, you don't need new leads, you don't need new clients. What about going deeper with current clients? Because one of the
Yes.
effects was the same people were just buying more of the same product because it was more fun, it was
Hmm.
more personal. And maybe I buy one for my auntie and for my cousin and for that client that I'm gonna meet.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, one of the main aspects of referability comes down to how do you look when you actually share something with somebody else, right? You look good. You look good when you're giving somebody something that's useful and sort of helpful to them, right? So if suddenly you find that there is this product that has multiple names on it, then you can sort of look really good to your network as being the person who sends them or hands them that branded, product, right? And it's their brand, it's their name. So it makes perfect sense that people would buy more of these Cokes because you're basically saying like, I look good giving them to these people and sort of handing them off. And I think that all too often we spend too much time thinking about how do I make myself look cool from a marketing standpoint when really we want to think about how do I make my clients look cool? How do I make them look interesting with whatever it is I'm creating or whatever it is I'm developing?
Totally. And let me share one thing here because now we are talking in our technical language, guys. This is increasing the lifetime value of a current customer. That
Mm-hmm.
means they just spend more with you. And what I've been trying to see in real time, this will be interesting for people. Let me share screen. I have been building a quick dashboard that tells me in real time because, Michael's clients, my clients, they ask us all the time, should I get more referrals or should I increase prices or should I increase the closing rate or should I increase the margins? I can do all at once. Which one is the actual highest impact thing to do? Because I just have 2 hours to work on the business this week. So, and I've created this little dashboard that shows you, let's say we have 5 initial clients and our profit margin is 36%. And we're getting, because Michael has helped us with referrals, so we're getting now 2 referrals every week. Don't think that's a small number, 2 referrals, because look at what happens. It compounds. Let's say that we have a very small win rate, maybe in the 30s, 34%. That's people that we close from the referrals that we get. But now here is the question. Well, obviously, you see that referrals is a really, really good thing to do because it compounds upwards. But now the question of the lifetime value. Let's say they spend with you, your Coca-Cola, they spend with you $5,000. Now you can simulate here, what if I get them to spend $6,000 in a month? And you see immediately the difference. And go, oh, no, that's not worth it. What about $5,500? Oh, look at this. That's such a small change, but we went from 60 million to 70 million. That's a 10 million difference by just getting them to spend $500 more. 10%. 10%
Mm-hmm.
more, 1 million. And then, of course, we can click profits because who cares about revenues? We want profits. But it's, and again, in real time, we can say, is it worth to charge 6,000? And these are the relevant conversations that Michael has with his clients, that I have with my clients. Where should we put our attention? Where's the bottleneck? And what should we increase? This is an example from the Sprint Club, but I think lifetime value is how much do clients spend with you in a year.
Yeah.
We look at it on a 12 months basis. You can look at the actual lifetime, but in 12 months, it's easier to plan and to measure. What do they spend in 12 months? Can you increase that? And one thing is personalization. One thing is going deeper.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the thing is, and I've heard this said a couple of different times in a couple of different places, but the sort of main idea is that every time you're solving a problem for somebody, you're making a new problem, right? So the second that you fix something and suddenly they've got, you know, let's say they didn't have as many clients as they wanted and now they have more clients. Well, now with more clients, they've got a new problem of they need more systems to be able to figure out how to manage, all of those clients. But then you figure out, let's say you figure out their system problem, right? And they've got the system, and now the system's really kind of humming and everything's working. Chances are, because they've been so focused on the system, they haven't necessarily spent a lot of time looking at the actual numbers and the profitability. So now they've got to go and they got to find somebody to help them with the profitability, right? So it's like whoever you're working with, there is a pretty good chance that whatever success you're creating is going to introduce something else that they want, right? Like something else that they're looking for or that they're trying to accomplish. And the question then for you, as you kind of look at your process and the work that you're doing, is what is that deeper thing that is not going to be a quick fix? That's not going it like for a fact it's going to take time to build that out, because if you go to a client and you basically say they've already spent money with you, they've already done, something with you, and you say to them, listen, now that that this is humming and this is working really well, if you're interested in solving this problem, we cannot solve it as quickly because we're going to have to do a lot of testing, a lot of sort of back and forth. So now you've got somebody who's considering, 6 months, a year, 2 years. I mean, I've seen people sell masterminds that they only sell it as a 3-year commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because of how they kind of see the structure of the business going and sort of that, that whole process. So I think that that's something to always be thinking about in your own marketing. And going back to what we were talking about with Coke, like that is what Coke does, right? Coke basically sees, okay, people are buying cans or they're buying bottles. So if people are buying a lot of it, what do we do? Right? Like, let's make sure that we've got a 12 pack. Let's make sure that we've got a 36 pack. Let's make sure that we've got one of those Costco packs that's like at the size of like an Energon cube from like Transformers, right? Like they will do that because they know that there are people who now have made Coke part of their life. When I worked for a producer when I first got started in producing, and he would basically have a case of Coke delivered to his office every week because he went through so much of it himself. And not only that, but like everybody else in the office, they always had a stocked fridge, right? So think about all the things that you have in your business that you could start to think about, well, what does somebody need on a regular basis, right? Like, what are they looking for on a regular basis? I'll never forget, there was one time I talked to somebody who was doing a website design, and this was in the early stages of website design, but the company was doing these major websites for like the White House and like all these like big companies. But they had this problem of every time they finished one of these high-end websites, they basically had to go out and get more clients. And then they introduced this like maintenance package after the website was done, where it was like, you pay this much a month and then we'll come and fix it if anything sort of goes wrong. And that's what kept the business really, moving. So I think it's that aspect of every time, like we are as entrepreneurs, we're selling cans of Coke, and we have to make sure that we're thinking, well, who wants to buy a case, and what does our case look like, and what does our big case look like, and how do we bring ourselves sort of into that world if that's the service we're providing.
I totally agree. And back to that dashboard, whenever we solve one thing, so for example, if in that given week of a sprint we have solved the referrals. Let's say we got them from 3 referrals per week to 6 referrals per week. Okay, that's a great accomplishment and we're happy. But as you can see immediately from the revenue optimization dashboard, now if you just increase your profit margin by another 3% from 36% to 39%, look at what happens here. We are at 140 million. And then in maybe, okay, the next 2 weeks, we work on the profit margin side, increasing profit margins by 3%. What can we leave out or automate or digitize or organize in a leaner way? Okay, we get those 3%. But then, okay, the win rate is 34%. What happens if we get the win rate to maybe 49%? 220 million in profits. So, and that was a very realistic increase from 38% win rate. So you're talking to 100 people, you close 38 or you close 49. That's realistic to implement with a better sales flow, some sales role plays, some training of the team, improving the sales script. And then the last bit again, okay, what if we get them to buy more, or if we just increase the price by 10%? What happens if we increase the price by 10%? And then you immediately see it. So it's true that there is always a bottleneck. There's always a weakest link in the system, in every socio-technical system. And so when you've optimized one part, there will always be another part where the throughput cannot flow. And that's the next thing that you can look at.
Exactly.
And that applies to if you're IT consultants, financial advisors, every professional service provider, but actually everybody who helps the other side either reduce costs or increase output. There will always be a continuum if you map it out with them, maybe in such a real-time way of visualizing it. Then they will see all the opportunities, and maybe after 3 months of working with you, they say, but I saw another opportunity there. Can we do that too?
Yeah. Yeah. And just making that clear, right? I think that's the thing, is like making it clear that there are other opportunities, that there are other possibilities. I think a lot of the time the mistake that ends up happening is that those other possibilities are not made clear, or ever sort of presented in the in the early stages of the process. So sometimes somebody will get to the very end of a process, they'll get to a particular result that they want, and then they'll want to sort of take a break, right? And they'll say they want to come back, or they say they want to sort of do more later. And we all know kind of how those conversations go, right? When somebody's like, I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to come back, there's only a small percentage of people who actually come back after they say they're going to, they're going to take that break. So if you're making sure that it's clear to them that there are other possibilities, and really sort of throughout the process assessing if those other possibilities are something that the person is actually geared towards or interested in, you're going to have much more success with whatever the additional layer is that you want to add on, because you've made sure that they're aware of the fact that there are these other possibilities.
It's so true. If the client says, I'm taking a break, the amateur, the beginner salesperson will say, yeah, everything is going fine. They're having a break. And the experienced salesperson will say, I lost him.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I love this.
Yeah.
This is what we have been stealing for you guys from Coca-Cola. What will we be stealing in 2 weeks?
Who knows?
You don't know, because we don't know. We are having our eyes and ears in the markets all the time. And whenever we see something, we steal it and we bring it to you. See you in 2 weeks, everyone. And check out Michael, the referability master, Roderick. See you soon, everyone.
Take care, everybody.
Avoid trying to do thousands of things that doesn't work. We have 274 templates for your business success. Reach your ambitious goals with one-on-one sprint coach. We double your revenue in 90 days.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategy Sprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategy Sprints method. Order your